Okay, can everyone hear me now? Perfect. Okay, welcome all to Speaking Proudly 2023. I'm Lily Im, a student at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. But as a Minnesota high school senior, I was a Speaking Proudly 2021 competitor. In fact, it was at this very podium that I delivered the speech that made me the 2021 champion. Today, it is my privilege to serve as a spokesperson for the organizers of Speaking Proudly, who join me in thanking you for being present today in this historic rotunda as we determine the 2023 winners. Speaking of winners, it is a fitting segue into one of the best parts of my jobs, to introduce you to the MC for this rotunda program. We are honored to put ourselves in the capable hands of the youngest woman ever elected to the Minnesota Senate. That record-setting achievement came years after her election as student body representative to the University of Minnesota Board of Regents. She also worked as a public relations manager before being elected to the Chanhassen City Council. In her second term as state senator, she was named Assistant Minority Leader, providing an articulate voice for her party on today's most controversial issues. All this while being a wife and the mother of 3 very young sons. Speaking Proudly competitors, judges, and guests, I give you Senator Julia Coleman.
Well, thank you, Lily, and everyone for that kind welcome. As a woman who knows the importance of using language effectively, I'm honored to be part of Speaking Proudly, which rewards free and responsible discussion of foundational public policy issues. Thank you so much to the organizers for inviting me here today. I'd like to begin today with a special welcome and hearty congratulations to this year's Speaking Proudly competitors. Chosen by a blind process on the basis of outlines they submitted all the way back in March, the 2023 competitors have spent all day delivering speeches that reveal their ideas about securing the blessings of liberty in 21st century America. We don't know yet which of you, or who any of you are, but we admire your willingness to take on the challenge of researching the topic, delivering your ideas, and presenting them to the judges and the audience in this historic venue. Our hosts for this one-of-a-kind competition are members of Metro Republican Women and other clubs of the Minnesota Federation of Republican Women. In 2018, these women, all volunteers, gave birth to the idea of a statewide competition that would promote and reward responsible public discourse among Minnesota's high school girls. Republican Women, again, all volunteers, fund, promote, publicize, and staff the competition. But the contest itself is scrupulously nonpartisan, open to girls of all political persuasions or none at all. The blind admissions and scheduling process guarantee that no one, not organizers, not judges, not even myself, know the names, schools, hometown, or political preferences of any competitor here today. Handling sound and videography today are professionals from the Ridgeway companies. Live streaming and other assistance comes courtesy of Alpha News. We are grateful, too, for the assistance of the staff of the Minnesota State Capitol and volunteers from the Minnesota Historical Society. Finally, we salute our many generous donors and volunteers. Without their sacrifices, Speaking Proudly simply could not happen. Together, we're doing something wonderful today, and we're doing it in a magnificent setting. It's fitting, then, that we begin with prayer. To lead us, please welcome Elaine Lesh, President of Metro Republican Women.
Hello, everyone. When I was asked to do this, I was praying, and I was reminded of a favorite verse of mine in the Bible. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus, to do the good works He prepares in advance for us, so that we may walk in His ways." Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, We come before you today asking your blessing and covering over our event in this historic building. May the words of our competitors be encouraging and enlightening. We thank you for their courage to be a part of the competition, knowing in God's eyes they are all winners. In the last round, Lord, please guide our judges with godly discernment and wisdom in deciding these winners. In your holy name we pray, and all said, amen.
Thank you, Elaine. Now, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Vicki Froelich, President of the Minnesota Federation of Republican Women.
Thank you. If you're able to stand, would you please stand and join me in the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
From the first, Speaking Proudly has been known for attracting respected, accomplished judges, fine communicators from every walk of life who donate their time and expertise to helping Speaking Proudly competitors grow in their ability to use language responsibly and ethically. The Speaking Proudly program includes brief biographies of all of our remarkable judges, including those I'm about to welcome. Please hold your applause until all judges of today's final round panel have been introduced. Judges, please rise as your name is called.
First, Emily Albrecht of the Equal Rights Institute. Emily speaks all over the country and beyond, training others to think clearly, reason honestly, and argue persuasively.
Next, Dr. King Banyan, Professor of Economics and Dean of the School of Public Affairs at St. Cloud State University, radio show host, prolific author, and fine singer.
Third, Kim Crockett. A lawyer, writer, and election integrity expert, Ms. Crockett is a proud mother and grandmother and a 2022 candidate for Secretary of State.
Fourth, Dr. James May, Professor of Classics, and Kenneth O. York, Distinguished Professor Emeritus at St. Olaf College. Dr. May has been published extensively on ancient Greek and Roman rhetoric oratory.
And completing our final round panel, Martha Najolame, an economist with the Center of the American Experiment. Ms. Najolame writes about the effect of government fiscal and regulatory policy on Minnesota's economy.
Thank you, judges, for your time and dedication today. Speaking Proudly limits each competitor to 8 minutes speaking time, a fact that makes our timekeeper person of real importance. Will our timekeeper, Janet Schultz, please rise? Thank you.
And now, speakers, for the last time today, the rules governing this competition. Competitors will deliver, in English, a persuasive speech of up to 8 minutes in length. No visual aids or props may be used, but a script or note cards are permitted. Use of cell phones or other electronic devices by anyone during the round is strictly forbidden. No audio recording, videography, or still photography is permitted during the round except by a Speaking Proudly official or a credentialed member of the press. The speeches will be timed. The timekeeper will display time cards when 7.5 and 7.75 minutes have elapsed. When the 8-minute mark is reached, the timekeeper will display the stop card, at which point the speaker may finish the sentence she is currently speaking. Judges have been advised to substantially downgrade any speaker who continues beyond the sentence she is speaking when the time expires.
Well, ladies, so far I can tell that you are all bound for the Minnesota State Senate, as the rules are just as strict in the Senate. In the House, you can use props. You can wear pretty much anything you want. You can speak for as long as you want. You're all going to be great senators someday. Continuing on with the competition specifics, the Speaking Proudly tabulators have calculated the 3 top scoring speakers from the day's competition. Speaking order among those 3 top scorers has been determined by lot. When I announce each of the final round speakers, she will come up to the podium to test the microphone using a brief quotation that Lillian will provide. That microphone test will not figure into the judges' rankings, nor will it be included in the 8-minute speaking time. The speaker may begin her speech as soon as her microphone test has concluded. A final reminder, these speeches are being recorded and live streamed, so please remain quiet. And no photography, no recording, no use of any cell phone or electronic device until the final round is concluded. Now, to the final round of speeches, and good luck to all. All right. Quotes. I believe we're just waiting on one more thing. See, I'm used to emceeing pageants, and when I do that, we have random people behind the stage we can poll to do a musical number. So, Lily.
Musical number.
Time to shine.
I don't know if I have any musical numbers.
We don't have any instrumentals. I apologize. It's not going to work out.
Maybe some jokes.
Some jokes. Ooh. Not for this audience. All right, I think we're getting the quotes. We're ready to go? We don't want to make them sit on the edge of their seats any longer, huh? Having followed the tabulating and tie-breaking procedures set forth in the Speaking Proudly tabulator's instructions, we attest that the randomly selected speaking order for the 2023 Speaking Proudly final round is as follows. Speaking first, contestant number 8699. Speaking second, oh, well, just kidding. You're going to have to wait to find out who that is. 8699, please join us up here.
Quote, I believe our flag is more than just cloth and ink. It is a universally recognized symbol that stands for liberty and freedom. It is the history of our nation, and it's marked by the blood of those who died defending it. End quote. John Thune. In the safe, free, and just country we have today, it's easy to assume that liberty is, and always will be, a readily guaranteed part of American life. There are no enemies that threaten us with war, no rampant reign of tyranny, and by force of law, we are guaranteed the protection of our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Yet, despite the many gifts our current society affords, assuming these comforts will remain indefinitely without active protection would be a grave mistake. Whenever a social or political problem arises, individuals frequently place the blame on a particular person, policy, or party. However, often the main core of our issues lies not in these matters, but rather can fundamentally be traced to one key vice. We have become bored. Edmund Burke, an English 18th century political thinker, masterfully sums up this idea of the infection of complacency when he says, quote, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing, end quote. A similar sentiment to Burke's can be seen in the opening words of our nation's Constitution, where the founding fathers stressed the need for, quote, securing the blessings of liberty, end quote. The word secure, by its very definition, means both attaining rights not held and defending those we already possess. These men understood that in order to keep our freedoms, we need to keep our fighting spirit. Today, in 21st century America, the battle to protect our rights is not a matter to be fought with physical strength, but with our minds. We need a generation of strong leaders who will help preserve our freedoms through their words. To further examine the way in which we are called to defend our liberties, I want to take you back to the year 452 AD. You are standing on top of one of the towers of a high wall that lines a huge city, Rome. You see the domes of various churches lining the skyline and can even barely make out the top of your own home. However, suddenly you're disturbed by a strange sight. A mass of foreign-looking men are quickly advancing toward the city. Immediately, you realize with a shudder who they are: the Huns. Defeat by these ruthless men not only meant death to you and your people, but to your entire way of life. They razed homes and historical landmarks to the ground, burned churches, slew priests, and ripped you from your culture into foreign slavery. If the Roman people died, Rome would die too. Suddenly, your attention is diverted by the sight of a solitary approaching figure. It's not the flashing array of soldiers as you first expected, but a solitary, elderly man, Pope Leo. Will no one else fight, you think to yourself? One old man won't stand a chance against such an army. At last, the horde and Leo meet. Their leader, the infamous Attila the Hun, exchanges a few words with the Pope, and then Attila leaves. This man, who had decimated entire populations, razed cities to the ground, was turned back by the words of one man. Today, we face a similar trial. While there are no barbarians to pillage our lands or enslave our people, every American citizen has a duty to actively protect the core of our nation's tradition of liberty. Leo fought not only for life, but for religious freedom, beautiful landmarks of culture, and the home. We too need voices who will stand up for the truth, who will stand up to defend these crucial rights. In order to examine how leaders like Leo are formed, it's necessary to take a further look at what exactly liberty is. The first part of liberty is the ability to achieve good through our actions. This can be seen most clearly in the amendments of our Constitution, where, among other things, we're given the right to peacefully assemble, to express our ideas constructively through the media, and to exercise our religious rights. And yet, none of these freedoms, rights which the Founding Fathers justly called, quote, the blessings of liberty, would be possible without the second aspect of liberty, namely, that we must first know what the goods we fight for are. Sadly, in today's culture, it's difficult for many people, especially young minds, to know exactly what the good is. Through the promotion of critical race theory, children are being taught that the laws and institutions which govern our country are inherently pitted against our general welfare. A 2021 Education Minnesota handout instructs its teachers to promote the idea that, quote, racism is systemic and embedded in our policies and legal structures, end quote. What's more, 2022 data from the Minnesota Department of Education shows that 48.3% of all publicly educated students are below the Minnesota standard for reading, 54.5% for math, and 58.7% for science. If these children, the future of our country, not only are struggling to obtain basic educational skills, but also are taught to despise the principles on which our country was founded, how can we expect them to be the generation we need? Ladies and gentlemen, this must change. To this end, I've developed a solution to the problem of modern education, a three-letter acronym I call OWN, O-W-N. The OWN stands for the originals, otherwise known as the classical system of education. Besides the basics of reading, writing, math, and science, students are additionally taught subjects like logic, reason, and philosophy, which are crucial skills for any developing mind. What's more, they daily encounter the truths of history's greatest thinkers, read primary sources, are encouraged to ask some of life's deepest questions. It is within this context that students can truly know what the good is and become bright and competent leaders. A study conducted by the Education Endowment Foundation in over 60 different countries showed that when children were given a philosophy class just once a week, their reading and math skills advanced an additional 2 months ahead of curriculum. What's more, they reported higher levels of self-esteem, speaking, and listening. The next letter, W, stands for wisdom. While the acquisition of knowledge presented in the classics is a crucial endeavor, it means nothing without the wisdom that comes only from lived experience. Through the work of mentors, all people should be able to ask questions, mold healthy habits, and receive priceless advice. A 2009 study from the Mentor Foundation showed that having a mentor led to, quote, healthier relationships and lifestyle choices, improved behavior both at home and at school, and improved interpersonal skills, end quote. Finally, the last letter N stands for nation. The extensive formation students have received should flow into constructive action for the building up of our country. Through service and dynamic community involvement, all Americans should learn how to actualize the blessings of liberty within the context of their own neighborhoods and cities. If these small bonds are made firm, they will lead to a flourishing on the state and national level. To conclude, I want to end with a quote by Thomas Jefferson in his December 31st, 1787 letter to Uriah Forrest. Quote, educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. End quote. Thank you.
And judges, when you're ready, just give me a nod so I can make sure you're done tabulating. I know it's fast and furious work you're doing back there. All right, we've got 2 of our 5. No pressure for the other 3, but I am standing here staring at you till you finish. All right, and we're just about wrapped up. Thank you, judges. Chosen at random, our second speaker in this final round is speaker number 3651. Please come to the podium.
A man's country is not a certain area of land, of mountains, rivers, and woods, but it is a principle, and a patriotism is loyalty that principle. George William Curtis. Oh no, the audience is looking at me. What if I mess up? What if I forget what to say? Not surprisingly, speaking in front of people is one of the most difficult tasks for the average high school student. In fact, about 95% of people in general. It is easy to assume that the audience will reject your words, especially after the horror stories which we've heard and perhaps even experienced. We feel the need to find approval from our peers, and this can lead us to simply accept what is being spoken, perhaps even allowing ourselves to be brainwashed. This should not be the case. Although speaking out may pose challenges, because of the blessing of free speech, we should publicly speak to better our government, prepare for a future, and to procure the blessings of liberty. According to lifenews.com, in the fight against abortion at United Nations, Archbishop Chulukot gave one of the most powerful pro-life speeches. Instead of simply accepting the opposing arguments, he openly opposed the claims to abortion, stating, "It follows that each child must be accorded, in the first place, the right to be born. This is a right, moreover, which must be protected equally." Imagine if he had decided to tread more lightly in order to avoid offending anyone. Who would have stood up for the unborn voices? The concept of free speech, which includes the blessings of liberty, began as early as the Greek civilizations. In the midst of a monarchy-run world, the Greek government emphasized a democratic principle of gathering to debate certain topics. Adults were encouraged to apply their minds and their tongues to these meetings to properly use parige, meaning free speech. Centuries later, the leaders of a collection of colonies called America observed what the early Greeks practiced and determined to build a new government that played off of their example. 1791, the First Amendment passed, securing the free speech of Americans. Following this, presidential candidates would hold debates that lasted for hours. Thousands would gather to listen and learn, and the audience was held in captivation. In stark contrast to the avid attention that speakers were given, modern-day culture has labeled a speech over an hour as too time-consuming. Glancing around a classroom during the average lecture, one can almost find the audience nodding off. Students who take public speaking classes are stricken with fear at the thought of presenting a 10-minute speech. In addition, speakers risk retaliation from media and other sources who pick apart every word. What spurs from this view of speaking is a fear of imperfection that can cripple the best of speakers. Americans have been blessed with the right to speak without fear. But unfortunately, this is changing. More restrictions are being placed on Christians and conservative thinkers, and they are often forced to comply. In other countries, these restrictions have only grown. China has a tightly run government where many forms of public communication are restricted. Many social websites are blocked, and lawsuits can easily be carried out against any citizen who is saying too much. For many Americans, China's example is now becoming reality. Riley Gaines, a former NCAA swimmer, was recently assaulted during the middle of her speech at San Francisco State University this year, according to a New York Times post. She was addressing her views against transgender athletes, and as she was about to finish, she was maliciously attacked by the crowd and forced to seek shelter. Twice, she was physically struck while being escorted into a room in which she was barricaded for 3 hours. What outrageous persecution of free speech! Where does this persecution force us? We are given two choices: speak out against the ongoing push to silence our voices, or turn a blind eye to the change that is creeping in. I challenge you to prepare yourself for this battle. Train yourself to speak out against untruths that you may hear. Attend and get involved in community meetings such as Young Republicans, Tea Party movement, etc. Train yourself to speak against any harmful unbeliefs that you may hear. Then, arm your teens with speaking experience. A few months ago at a Tea Party meeting, an older gentleman made a most incredible remark. This is not a direct quote, but best shared as remembered. Most people in this room will be dead in 20 years. What are we as Republicans doing to get the younger people involved? The Democrats are working their young people like crazy, and they are making a big difference. We've got to get more young people involved. One way to encourage this involvement is practice. Encourage participation in speaking events via competitions and classes that are available, like this one, the Metro Republican Women, the American Legion Oratorical, and many others. Train your teens to listen to others. Respect for speaking starts with listening well. Invite them to join in adult conversations. Combine these efforts, and we young people may provide the turnaround that is needed in today's culture. Speaking out is difficult. It takes guts to ignore the possibilities and fight for the truth. Persecution and backlash are all too possible. Tucker Carlson, Fox News reporter, was recently fired from his multi-million-dollar job because he opposed the false media broadcasting reports that were occurring from other broadcasters. According to various sources, in response, he openly stated, "Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it was enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments." Amazingly, as of tonight, there are not many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter. We were given the blessing of free speech. Now we need to defend that liberty. Train yourself, train your children to speak defensively against wrongs being promoted. How many jaws will be clenched in regret if we don't start to speak for our freedoms, faiths, and families? Riley Gaines wrote in a tweet, "This still only further assures me I'm doing something right. When they want you silent, speak louder." And I would add, speak proudly. Thank you.
All right, it looks like our judges are starting to wrap up. Chosen at random, our third speaker in this final round is speaker number 6610. Please join us at the podium.
Quote, "The essence of America, that which really unites us, is not ethnicity or nationality or religion. It is an idea. And what an idea it is, that you can come from humble circumstances and do great things." Condoleezza Rice. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. According to this most famous declaration of 1776, we know that liberty is something inherent in all men, and that while the government exists to protect the right to liberty, the first line of defense for the blessings of liberty is the people, who must take responsibility for cultivating, exercising, and protecting their inherent rights. In concluding that same declaration, our founding fathers pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. But what are those blessings, in defense of which our founding fathers were willing to sacrifice everything? What do those blessings look like, and how do we preserve them? The best way to determine what the blessings of liberty are is to examine their absence. And the clearest example of the absence of liberty is a maximum security prison. In these facilities, prisoners are deprived of their ability to exercise their liberty. The prisons are often harsh and sterile in architecture. The prisoners are subject to forced conformity. And though the prison is overseen by armed guards, life in prison is dangerous. And the focus of the prisoner is on surviving rather than thriving or flourishing. While most people are never going to be sentenced to time behind bars, I would argue that many are living in prisons of their own fashioning. For the average American, such obstructions to the practice of their liberty could include our predominant and growing cancel and fear cultures that grip everyone from our kindergartners to our college students. Recent studies reveal that 4 in 5 college students feel the need to self-censor on campus or with professors for fear of being canceled by peers or having their grades unjustly lowered simply because they hold different beliefs. And fear is becoming the predominant emotion among Americans today. Children are being allowed less and less independence because a constant media cycle presents to their parents a world in which children are abducted from every corner. And sadly, many of our public schools quite resemble prisons. Their halls are blank and sterile, and though perhaps campuses are becoming safer, it's only because of big metal doors, deadbolt locks, and metal detectors. The Department of Education reported that in 2020, 51% of K-12 schools had armed police officers patrolling daily. When I was in grade school, my classmates often made jokes like, "My gosh, it's like we're incarcerated or something." And while at the time I thought they were just whining about homework, looking back, I realized their complaints weren't entirely unfounded. 2 years ago, a Minnetonka charter school put barbed wire on the fences of their playground to stop kids from climbing over and running off. But the biggest problem with these negative cultures and systems is that they focus our gaze downward, on mere safety. But exercising our liberty, properly understood and ordered, requires us to look upward towards higher, nobler things. So knowing this tendency to exist in survival mode, how do we combat it? How do we lift the gaze of Americans back upward towards authentic human excellence and the true exercising of liberty? Well, throughout history, in cultures where people have actively been striving after human excellence, there has always been a correlation with beauty. Consider ancient Greece. Within 50 years of the establishment of democracy in Athens, the Parthenon was erected, various philosophical schools were established, and such impressive statues were crafted that the later conquering Romans just copied them. Beauty is a mark of a flourishing culture. It is a mark of a culture that truly values its liberty. Just look around at this Capitol building. Where liberty is held in a place of honor, beauty naturally follows. And this correlation between beauty and liberty is one tool by which we can break the self-implemented shackles binding Americans today. By curating beautiful spaces and by reincorporating an emphasis on beauty in the architecture and curriculum of our education systems, and by intentionally consuming beautiful media, we inform the imagination of Americans to think about and to desire noble things, which can only be attained by the free. But is simply creating beautiful spaces going to be enough to make people actually want to take advantage of their inherent right? A relatively recent area of scientific investigation, built environment, revolves around how our environment affects us, how we think, how we act, and even how we heal. According to a University of Minnesota study, hospital environments affect various outcomes. First, they observed that the level of comfort in hospital rooms either encourages or discourages visitors, and there are many benefits to patients. Second, they noticed that in clean, well-kept hallways, hospital staff were more likely to put materials away, rather than just leave them out. And finally, they observed that better lighting actually improved overall health, noting that symptoms of depression, agitation, and lack of sleep were all improved. These are subtle changes, but they bear significant consequences. Similarly, in the early 1990s, a policy called broken windows was embraced by many governors seeking to lower violent crime rates in their cities. Perhaps the most famous adopter of this was Rudy Giuliani in New York City. According to the political scientists behind it, the theory of broken windows is that by dealing with minor infractions and by encouraging neat and orderly cities, we discourage greater violent crime, and we encourage stronger, deeper communities. While the legacy of broken windows is complicated, it is clear that beautiful, ordered, well-maintained spaces tend to produce greater beauty, order, and overall human flourishing. So what does a study about hospital environments and public policy to address violent crime rates have to do with securing the blessings of liberty? Whether we are aware of it or not, our environment impacts our desire and our ability to exercise our liberty. If our task as the leaders and future leaders of America is to inspire people to take advantage of their inherent right, then it is imperative that their environment reflects that as well. In a 1771 article to the Boston Gazette, Samuel Adams wrote, "The truth is, all men might be free, if they truly valued freedom and defended it as they ought." His observations are still true today. Unless the people of the United States can see the value of liberty, they will not be motivated to defend it or its blessings. Through something as simple as creating beautiful environments, we will hand Americans one tool to escaping their self-constructed prisons, and we can expect to see that where people are surrounded by beauty, even greater things will follow. Thank you.
Thank you to all those speakers. Now for some richly deserved applause for our Speaking Proudly finalists. While the tabulators determine the results of our final round, we turn from the really challenging part of this program to the really fun part. At last, it's time to learn the identity of our competitors. And in the Speaking Proudly tradition, the girls will speak for themselves through videos they submitted. Here they are, in their own words, the Speaking Proudly 2023 competitors.
My name is Catherine Anderson. I live in North Oaks, and I'm a freshman at Mounds View High School. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be here today.
Hello, my name is Catherine Anderson, and I'm a young amateur poet, novelist, actor, and outdoor enthusiast based in Leinster, Minnesota. To me, oration and debate is a respectful yet lost art needed now more than ever in our harshly divided society, which is why I'm overjoyed to be able to join this competition and utilize one of the most valuable skills any citizen or human has, their voice.
Hi, my name is Lane Anderson. I'm from St. Paul and I attend Mid-Metro Academy. I'm very honored to be part of this speaking competition, and I'm very excited to meet these young ladies who, like me, are passionate about politics.
Hello, my name is Julia Burke. I'm in 10th grade, I'm homeschooled, and I live in Blaine, Minnesota. I'm very excited to be competing at the state capitol this June.
Hi, I'm Francesca Chastik. I'm a freshman at Chesterton Academy, and for my speech, I chose to speak on the importance of inspiring in the American people a desire for the blessings of liberty.
Hello, I'm Adelaide Dixon from Western Wisconsin. I'm going to be a sophomore this fall at Liberty Classical Academy, and I am more than excited to be competing in the 2023 Speaking Proudly competition because, well, I like speaking proudly.
Hi, my name is Jada Francis. I'm homeschooled and I'm from Shoreview, Minnesota. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure speaking for you all today.
Hello, my name is Jolene Hoffeld. I live in Prior Lake, Minnesota, and I'm homeschooled. I am so excited to be able to talk about such an important topic as liberty through speaking proudly. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jocelyn Horn. I'm a junior at Adrian High School in Adrian, Minnesota, and I'm super excited to be able to compete in this awesome competition. And good luck to all the other competitors.
Hi everyone, I'm McKenna Hovey from Owatonna, Minnesota. I'm so excited to be a part of this program, and I hope everyone has a great day speaking.
Hi, I'm Ashton Jensen. I live in Waseca, Minnesota, and I attend Waseca Junior Senior High School.
Hi, my name is Bobby Jeseritz. I'm from Cannon Falls, Minnesota.
Currently, I'm a homeschool student taking PSEO classes through the University of Northwestern. I'm super excited to participate in the Speaking Proudly event, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Grace McPherson. I am from Mankato, Minnesota, and I am a homeschooler, but I'm also taking some college classes part-time through Minnesota's PSEO program at Bethany Lutheran College. I'm very excited to be part of Speaking Proudly.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Mitchell, and I'm a recent graduate of Chesterton Academy in Hopkins. I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about the value of education, as it's a topic which has proved to be vital in my formation as an individual. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophia Model and I'm 17 years old. I'm currently a junior in high school, homeschooled, and a PSEO student at Crown College, and I can't wait to see you all there at the Capitol. Bye!
Hi, my name is Malia Schleisner. I am homeschooled in Arden Hills and I'm excited to compete.
Hi, my name is Rosalind Tressel. I go to school at Chesterton Academy of the Southern Crater Valley. I'm a sophomore. I live in West St. Paul, and I love reading. I love books. I'm a huge fan of the Daily Wire, and I'm super grateful to be given this opportunity to give a speech, especially at the Capitol. It's a huge honor.
Hello, my name is Jude Wadi. I'm currently a freshman at Matamina High School. I'm 15 years old and my hometown is White Bear Lake. I was born in Jordan and English is my second language, which makes Arabic my first. Thank you.
It is so good to know you.
My name is Kat.
Okay. Well, thank you, Speaking Proudly 2023 competitors. Next, a treat for everyone, a chance to hear from our MC, Senator Julia Coleman.
Well, thank you all very much. Before I begin, can I just say how precious it was sitting up front, and as each of these remarkable young women saw themselves come up on the screen as they cringe watching themselves. It was that way watching my first few Senate speeches. It gets easier, believe me. I was asked today to briefly speak about what I think it means to be a woman of strength. And I thought about this for about a month, thinking about all the women in my life that I look up to, and some of the lessons I've learned along the way as a mother and as a state senator. And I think if you want to be a woman of strength, there are 3 principles that you should practice in your everyday life. First and foremost, a woman of strength is a woman of substance. She is an independent-minded, free thinker. Too often today, on both sides of the aisle, we have people who go along to get along, who virtue signal on social media without thinking about what they're posting, who make their values, opinions, and convictions based on what their peer group or what the organizations or parties they're involved in tell them to think. It should be the other way around. A woman of strength, a woman of substance, reads up, studies up, makes her opinions, forms her convictions, and then finds peers, organizations, parties, and groups that more closely align to her beliefs. A wise man once said, "If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything." A woman of strength and substance doesn't fall for a thing. Second, a woman of strength, well, she knows that she must take care of herself in order to serve others. And ladies, I learned this lesson the hard way. The legislative session after I brought home my newborn twins, I gave every ounce of who I was, every second of my day, every fiber of my being, in service of my family and of my state. I came home at the end of that legislative session for the first time in my life experiencing burnout. I was a shell of a human being, and my family paid the price for that. I learned my lesson. I hired a life coach. I learned how to put balance back in my life. I made time for laughter. I made time for fun. I made time for friends. I made time for fitness and prayer and rest. As a result, I came back the next legislative session, and despite being in the minority party, was the most effective and high-performing senator I had ever been. I was a present and joyful mother and wife. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And a woman of strength learns this lesson early on. Take care of yourselves so you may serve your families, your state, your God, and your country. Lastly, a woman of strength shows up even when it terrifies her. Sometimes that looks like speaking up even when your legs are shaking. That might mean speaking up for your family or your faith, your party or your state. Believe me, there have been times that I have spoken up knowing that the people in the room are against what I'm saying. And I have been grateful for the podium or the Senate desk in front of me because my legs were shaking beneath me and my voice was quivering. My palms were sweaty, but I showed up. Sometimes that means standing up, whether it be for yourself, to a bully, to a government. You stand up for what you believe in every single time. Sometimes showing up even when it terrifies you means elbowing your way to that table decisions are being made at. Sometimes it means entering the room you're not invited in to share your voice and your thoughts and opinions. A woman of strength shows up when she is called by God to do something, even when it's not convenient. I was 9 months pregnant with my first baby when my state senator announced he was retiring. That wasn't my timing. You want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans. It's true. It wasn't my timing, beginning my first legislative session pregnant with twins. It wasn't my timing to give birth to them 12 hours after we finished at midnight. But you show up when God puts that call in your heart. It might mean 3 hours of sleep or less. It might mean that you have to rearrange your life plans, but you show up when you're called. A woman of strength is a woman of substance. A woman of strength takes care of herself and those around her. A woman of strength always does what's right. No, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been lonely here at the Capitol. In 2020, I was elected as the youngest woman ever elected to the state Senate. It's 2023, and I am still the youngest Republican woman in the entire Capitol. But I'm looking around this room, filled with hope. Because after hearing and meeting all of these young women here today, I have no doubt that very soon I will be passing off this torch to one of these women of strength. And that makes me so inspired. God bless you all. You're going to go on to do great things. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Senator Coleman. You really are an inspiration. Before we announce the results of the final round, we must deal with a few housekeeping details. Capitol rules require us to be out of this building by 4 o'clock sharp. Please gather all your belongings so you can make a speedy exit. Those of you who use the coat racks will find your items just outside the rotunda on the way to the south steps. All competitors will meet on those same south-facing steps for a photo shoot immediately following dismissal from this rotunda. There's just enough time to acknowledge the roles of families, teachers, coaches, and friends who helped our remarkable Speaking Proudly participants prepare for this day. Leaders don't just happen, they are formed. You all are helping to form the leaders that these girls will be in their homes, in their communities, their state, their nation, and their world. Thank you. And a renewed thanks to all the organizers, donors, volunteers, and judges who have played a part in Speaking Proudly 2023. Most of all, thank you to each one of you competitors. You make the future look very good indeed.
So it's my understanding that we are still tabulating the results, correct? So second offer for a performance, if you'd like to. Well, while we're waiting, following up on what I believe is an astounding class for this year, I wanted to make an offer. One of my goals in life is to mentor as many young women as I possibly can. And I frequently invite young women to come to the Capitol at their convenience for a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on here. Sometime next year, between February and May, you all have an open invitation to come to my office. Come to the closed doors meetings that you're not supposed to be at. Learn about how the sausage is made. Learn how bills actually become laws. And get an inside look at what it's like to be a legislator. Same goes for election years. Come out and learn how to door knock with me. Come out and learn how to use these voices. It's an open invite. Lily and her wonderful mother have my contact information, and you're all welcome at any time, so please come visit me. Where are we at with the tabulations? I'm seeing some nods. It might be tight. Oh! How does the tie-breaking process work? I'm curious. Whose idea was that? Because you're our first volunteer. All right, well, hang tight, and I'll be back up here as soon as we get some results for you guys. So, chat away. All right, I think we're ready to get going here. Thank you so much for your patience. I learned all about the tabulating experience, and it is quite intensive. That's why I don't do math. All right, tabulators have compiled the results from the final round. It's time for those results to be revealed and awards to be made. First, I will announce the third place winner. After she receives her award, I will announce the second place winner. Please allow that speaker to be honored for her accomplishment. The time to celebrate our first place winner will be after her name is announced. Lily, may we have the envelope, please? Thank you. It's like my own personal Vanna White. The Speaking Proudly 2023 third place trophy and a cash prize of $1,500 goes to Malia K. Schlusner.